Final Fantasy Timeline Theory Part 3 Life and Death. In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order. Carl Jung. The world of Final Fantasy timeline in this video includes Final Fantasy X, 7, and 2. Void births. More worlds are born from the void. Heidelin used the Magicite of the Rift to give birth to the 5th planet of Final Fantasy II, in which only humans and Fiend inhabit, and there are no deities. One planet born of pure chaos was Gaia of Final Fantasy 7 and 8, in which Zodiac creates a powerful sorcerer deity named Hain to shape the world only inhabited by monsters. Hain creates humans to do his bidding, but gives them little instruction. Heidelin conjures up the mist to create a life force for this planet, and its conscience, a deity she names Minerva. Minerva will provide the human crystal spheres called materia. Another world, Final Fantasy X, was created using an enhanced form of magicite and orbs called spheres. All introduce magic into the human worlds. Souls of the Guardians, Final Fantasy X. On the planet of Spira, 13 deities were created from spheres to shape this planet. Kush, Velm, Sloan, Arb, Uso, Cananella, Minyu, Mika, Gecko, Romanando, Henri, Infernal, and Goradio. The ancient people of this planet worship them, and they use their names to bestow great honor to summoners and their guardians called Junshi. In time, 2 settlements grew in opposing power: the magical city of Zanarkand and the machine city of Vivel. Vivel created powerful war machines called Machina that became too big a threat to the world. Zanarkand's leader Yu Yevon waged war on Vivel using the summoners and assassins of his city. Vivel created the most powerful weapon, Vegnagun. With overwhelming machine powers, Zanarkand lost the war. Before their defeat, the people and summoners of Zanarkand wanted to preserve their home forever, so they became spirits called Faith and started a 1,000-year dream Zanarkand. Yu Yevon's daughter, Yunalesca, sacrificed her husband Zaon. He becomes a special faith called the Final Aeon. An Aeon is a beastly representation or dream of the faith's emotions, and the faiths whose souls are trapped in stone and merge with the souls of the deities of World B. Yu Yevon sacrificed himself to become a being that can possess the faith and creates armor around itself called Sin. His only mission is to destroy any civilization that became too advanced, any place where there's too much Machina, and to keep the faith dreaming dream Zanarkand. 1,000 years later, Sin has Spira caught in a spiral of death, in which a summoner gives up their life to call the Final Aeon, and the Final Aeon is the person with the closest bond to the summoner, who also sacrifices him or herself. Yu Yevon possesses the Final Aeon, and Sin is reborn. Seeing no end to the cycle, a nihilistic man, Seymour Guado, seeks to become Sin, so he can send everyone to eternal salvation or death. To end this cycle, the summoner Yuna and the dream from Zanarkand Tidus defeat Seymour, Yunalesca, the Aeons, and Yu Yevon. Sin ceases to be reborn, and the Aeons rest, and the dream ends. 2 years later, the people seek to know more about the past and search for spheres, derivatives of the original sphere that hold memories in a visual format. Some of these spheres tell the story of an unsent from the real Zanarkand, Shuyin. He threatens to destroy the world by reawakening Vegnagun to have his revenge for the death of his love Len during the Machina War. The battle takes place in the far plane. Yuna and friends are able to stop him, and he fully accepts death. Noticing the immense energy from the far plane, a boy named Shinra seeks to harvest energy for Machina and uses Vegnagun to do it. Over the centuries, the energy from the planet is drained and people fight over the technology. The balance of life and death is weighed in favor of death once again, and old enemies awaken from the far plane. Beckonings are performed in which the living wish for the dead to roam among the living again. Yunalesca summons fiends to kill anyone connected to Vegnagun to end the power struggle and return the planet to the days of Zanarkand. Seymour summons even more fiends from the rift and gains power from the dark crystal Shiryu gives him, and he becomes the new chaos. He seeks to complete his initial resolve to make an eternal kingdom of death. Yunalesca is expelled from the planet and rests in the rift. The remaining people reconstruct Vegnagun into Omega to harbor all the energy from the planet once the end came. Not knowing this, Seymour gathered up all the Pyrophies from the far plane to create his kingdom, much like the dream Zanarkand. However, Omega carried all to another planet where their memories became part of another life force, the life stream of Gaia. Yunalesca, now a fiend possessed by the original Omega, uses the barren planet of Spira to sell the cosmos. Her only will is to kill every life form on the planet, and she uses it as a vessel to travel to another one, until Shiryu is found. Life Force and Magic, Final Fantasy VII. Some of the people from Spear have arrived in Gaia before Omega's arrival using great machina called weapons. Here they discover materia which is similar to the spheres of Spira, but they originate from the life force of this planet called the Life Stream. The Spirans brought with them the reincarnated aeons of the Old World and the faith of the Old and New World become god and goddesses of Gaia. Seymour Chaos finds himself in the life stream where he meets Minerva. Cunning, he is able to trick Minerva into making him an established power over the people of Gaia while he searches for a way to break his bond to Omega. In the meantime, he makes sure the humans stay enslaved by the Ketra, who embrace magic over machine, albeit descendants who repent for Shinra's sin. Minerva and Seymour have twins, a girl who has control over light and time named Yami, and a boy who has control over darkness and death named Yama. Their descendants are called Ancients, and they possess unique powers like their ancestors. They can control and summon fiends, see visions of the past and future, build magic without materia, and commune with the dead. Yama makes himself king over the Ketra, while Yami seeks to set the humans free. Alliances form among the Aeons. On Yami's side is Titan, Ramu, Ixen, Kujata, Typhoon, Phoenix, Alexander, Minerva, while Leviathan, Odin, Hades, the Knights of the Round, and Seymour side with Yama. Bahamut, Ifrit, and Shiva don't take sides. Some of the Old Faith, Valfor, Yojimbo, and Anima, and the Magus sisters stay out of the conflict and remain in stone. Meteor and Holy are created by Seymour, and he turns Yama into Zirconade. Yami is able to defeat her brother, who retreats to the void, and Minerva seals Seymour Chaos away in the proto-materia. However, another being threatens the planet. Unalesca arrives, and she is now called Genova. The Ketra and Yama seal her away while the humans hide. To punish the humans, Yama taints the life stream to make it poisonous to them. In retaliations, the humans seal him away in a special materia and scatter the pieces, while also imprisoning the other summons in materia. The weapons were repurposed to protect the planet from other threats. The humans continue Shinra's work and establish a power company in his name. 2,000 years later, Shinra is a worldly power and creates super soldiers using Mako energy and Genova cells. One of these soldiers, Sephiroth, is driven mad after Genova possesses him, and he summons Meteor to destroy the planet. The last catcher, Ares, summons Holy to counter his attack, while an ex-soldier Cloud and company defeat Sephiroth Genova. Sephiroth and Genova cells, however, lived on in the life stream. 3 years later, deep-ground soldiers called Spits wreak havoc on the world. They kill those who were infected by geostigma, a disease caused by tainted life stream, and capture those who are not infected to sacrifice them to the life stream to make it pure. Their leader, Weiss, is possessed by the Shinra mad scientist Hojo, who wants to control Omega. He sends the other Swits to force Chaos to awaken from Vincent Valentine, who harbors the proto-materia. Vincent was able to control Chaos, used its power to defeat Weiss and Hojo, and stop Chaos Omega from absorbing all the life from the planet. Omega's protective bond to the planet is severed. Minerva extracts Seymour Chaos to allow Vincent full control, to leave the planet's conscience in the hands of Ares, the last Ketra Ancient. Minerva destroys the magic materia, cuts off access to Mako Springs, and remains on Gaia with the Knights of the Round for protection, while the other summons return to the life stream in the rift. Yama is given the task of watching over a new world, the Blue Planet. Genova, Seymour, and Yama travel in search of a new world where no humans live. However, they end up on planet R and settle there. They are faced with turmoil, and Yama decides to flee. He comes across the 5th planet where magic is wielded by humans, but there are no summons. The Ultima, Final Fantasy II. In this world, there are no spheres or materia but magicite to be used to fight off fiends. Yama is mistaken for a fiend. However, there is one human who sees the human in his soul, and she falls in love with him. Yama receives 8 crystals from a mysterious being from planet R, 4 of light and 4 of dark, and this person searches for a world to inhabit after destruction of his own. Having no sympathy for the cruel humans, Yama takes his love with him to the underworld, in which he makes himself king and calls himself Satan. Here, he uses the crystals to create pandemonium or hell and the demons that inhabit it. They have a son who would foster a line of emperors of the kingdom that would become Palamentia. Yama gives some of his power to the woman who can use magic without the stones as he prepares to rule the world, or rule over the mortal world. Longing to be in the mortal world again, the woman plans to escape the underworld with her son. She creates a jade passage to the underworld and traps Yama Satan in the indestructible stone of Eludia. His lover Eludia returned to the mortal world with the 8 crystals. However, demons arose from hell through the passage. To seal off the passage, she made some humans into mages, and they created the Ultima magic. This magic became sealed away in the Ultimatone and hidden in Mysidia Tower, only to be opened with the crystal rod. It holds the power of Ultima and a white mask and a black mask, and one holds the power of Holy and the other the power of Meteor. Leviathan spirit is summoned, and she agrees to guard the tower with the Gigas, which are guardians of fire, wind, water, and earth that were created by the light crystals. Eventually, Eludia finds a way to the heavens and takes the 8 crystals with her. There she watches over her son and his descendants. Sometime later, one of his descendants, Matthias, wants more power and makes a pact to summon demon forces into the mortal world. Unbeknownst to him, Satan, or Yama, would corrupt his mind so he could be used to enact his revenge on the humans who trapped him, and he could rule over their world. After ascending to the throne, Matthias exiled his mother Iru to the deserts of Palmacia, and she spends her life trying to find a way to save him. Matthias builds an army of beasts from hell. He begins attacking other kingdoms for complete power. 14, Spherion, Maria, Guy, and Leon are attacked by Palamician Dark Knight soldiers and left for dead. Spherion, Maria, and Guy are rescued by Princess Hilda, who is actually an imposter, who has established a rebel base. They venture on to find their friend Leon, but they set out on various missions of their own. They obtain a powerful metal called mithril to forge weapons. They destroy a large enemy ship called the Dreadnought and encounter a Dark Knight who they believe to be Leon. They seek the power of Ultima and the help of the Dragoons of Deist and learn from his wife that there is only one left, Richard Highwind. His son Cain hopes to carry on his legacy. They rescue Hilda and obtain the mask and the rod, only to be swallowed by Leviathan. And here they find Richard. Venturing with him, they fight the Gigas Guardians of Mysidia Tower. They encounter the destruction of the Kingdom of Flynn by the cyclone Matthias summons, and they summon the last dragon and dragoon as their defense. Inside this cyclone is the castle where they battle the Emperor Matthias, and he is seemingly defeated by Ultima. In reality, his soul is split into 2. One went to hell and the other to heaven. With one emperor gone, one of his knights rises to power, and this is actual Leon. He plans to destroy the rebel army for good. Returning to the castle, they confront Leon, only to find that the Emperor Matthias attained a new demonic form from hell, and his intentions is to destroy the entire world. Escaping the castle due to Richard's sacrifice is replaced by the Palace of Hell Pandemonium. Leon agrees to help the group steal the Emperor away. The party travels through the Jade Passage that leads to the underworld and finds the portal to Pandemonium, where they fight Tiamat, Astaroth, and Beelzebub and defeat the Emperor, who fades away. The heaven half is defeated by the dead Richard and allies. Matthias warns them that war will not cease to exist as long as humans exist. In the end, Iru finds the 8 mother crystals which purified the land and healed it to bring peace to the world. The crystals were infused with the powers of water, earth, fire, and wind, Ultima, Holy Flare, and Meteor by the mages of Mysidia. It essentially destroyed the world, however the people are preserved and are drawn into the crystal and the crystal to the rift. They are transported to another planet, the Blue Planet. Eludia frees Satan Yama in exchange for him restoring the souls that the Emperor had taken and granting them all the ability to use magic without the stones. This world mysteriously had 8 crystals too, 4 of them light and 4 dark. Unfortunately for them, these crystals too were not created by Heidelin or Zodiac, but from the same mysterious being who granted Yama his, a human of planet R. So, as a recap for part 3, including Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy VII, and Final Fantasy II games. We have some relationships that I had established in this part. So to go through that, we have at the start of this video, I introduced the idea that these three planets were born around the same time, which was the Spira from Final Fantasy X, Gaia, which is Final Fantasy 7/8, and the fifth planet, as it was called, I think, and somewhere I found that, and that's Final Fantasy 2. So what happened is that in Spira, we have this constant war between magic and machine, between Bevel and Zanarkand, that doesn't ultimately end the planet until much later on, when descendants will again try to use the actual life force of the planet to create even more powerful machines, or machina as they're called, leading to the destruction of the planet. But also, it's not completely the fault of trying to trying to build up these machines and all this power, but it's also in the people of part of the live stream, namely Seymour and Leska, who are really powerful in the magics, that also create this imbalance of life and death in this world. So as I said earlier, initially Magic and Machine was causing great catastrophe to the planet, and in the end, that's what ultimately killed it further down the line with Seymour, Leska, and Shinra technology. However, this idea of the Shinra technology persisted and was carried over to the planet of Gaia of Final Fantasy VII, in which this electric power company was established that will drain energy from the light stream. And some of the people from Spira, also descendants of Shinra, will make it to Gaia, and they kind of separate themselves in between this group called the Ketra and then just regular humans. Again, Ketra like special humans because they can commune with the live stream. They're more connected to the live stream. They can use magic freely. I guess they're more trusted than the humans. But so we have that dynamic going on. And then what I introduced is the relationship between Seymour and Minerva and how they meet in the live stream, and they spawn this line of, where it's actually the ancients of this planet. So the Ketra were the people that were already there before, but the ancients are specifically descendants of these two twins, Yami and Yama, who have control over light and darkness. And so that's the relationship that you see there. So to further establish what the other relationships that came out of the connection between Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy VII is that at the end of Sphera, we have Seymour receiving this dark crystal from Chaos and Shinryu from the Void, and he is able to become the new Chaos, and this is the Chaos that we see in Final Fantasy VII, that ultimately ends up in a proto-materia that Vincent Valentine will harbor, as you see on this relationship concept map right here. And then Leska, as from Zanarkand, she will be possessed by Omega, who was created to pursue Shinryu, and she will become Genova. And in that state, she isn't a complete fiend anymore, she's a human, and she will literally travel the cosmos using Sphere as a vessel to pursue Chaos, which is Seymour now, and he made his way to Gaia. The Great Machina Vegnagun that was introduced in Final Fantasy X would be, I guess, kind of repurposed and reimagined into this Omega weapon of Final Fantasy VII as like the ultimate kind of, I guess, savior of the planet, because it will take all the life on the planet and carry it to another one. So Vegnagun became Omega. And lastly, going into Final Fantasy II, we have this establishment of pretty much we have Genova, Seymour, and Yama leaving the planet, Yami going to the planet of Final Fantasy IV, and Minerva staying behind. And the planet of Final Fantasy III, where Yama, Seymour, and Genova end up, there's a bunch of things that happened, and they decide not to, Yama decides not to stay there, and he flees to the world of Final Fantasy II, where he established this line of emperors, pretty much of darkness that are able to access demons and fiends and stuff from hell. And this leads to the creation of the Emperor Matthias, which is the main villain of Final Fantasy II. And then also in the end of that, since the world was essentially destroyed and then recreated, and the people ended up in the world of on the blue planet of Final Fantasy IV, and in which they are, which I'll introduce in the next video, but they will be known as these people called Lunarians, and they'll live on the moon that they create on that planet. So again, that's the kind of the bottom left side corner with Emperor Matthias and the picture of like these people sleeping in little pods. Those are Lunarians. And so this will, the story and concept will continue in part 4. And again, please leave comments, like, the normal things, subscribe. Thank you for watching, of course, and I can't wait to get into part 4 and 5 because those are my favorite. So I'll see you next time.